What's up, YouTube? It's Dear coming to you another video, and today I'm starting something new. I'm going to start a new series called The Hidden Truths About the Bible, and today I'm going to start with Mary Magdalene. The Bible doesn't really talk about Mary Magdalene much. She just says that she was a sinner, or she was a prostitute, and she was one of the apostles that walked with Jesus. But I'm going to go into a deeper meaning into who she really was and some of the things that the Bible doesn't teach us about. So I'm going to go into how Christianity really started. The Romans preached that the Catholic started teaching Christianity after the pagan emperor Constantine decided to change of heart, have a change of heart. At first, Constantine was crucifying the Christians for spreading the gospel of Jesus, and then he decided to have a change of heart and start to say that okay, now Christianity is going to be the new religion of this empire. And Constantine had the authority to choose what books and what books were not supposed to be in the Bible. So if he didn't like a book in the Bible, he would take it out. So basically, our Bible is dependent on one man and his opinions. And the emperor, or no, the bishop of the region. Didn't agree with Constantine, and Constantine had him exiled. So anybody who didn't agree with his decisions according to the Bible were exiled and killed. So that's kind of crazy how somebody can go to pagan and to being over the Bible, right? So we're going to get into it. So as we know, the Bible was changed and edited many times, and also that many books of the Bible were taken out, and those books that were taken out are called the Apocrypha. I don't have my copy of the Apocrypha here with me today, so I'm going to put a screenshot so y'all can know what the Apocrypha is. And Apocrypha is just basically books that were taken out the Bible, but honestly, those books that were taken out the Bible has a deeper meaning and way more spiritual meaning than the books in the Bible. Not trying to go against the Bible or anything, but if we think about it, the Bible just seems like a history story. I learned that less than 5% of Jesus' teachings are actually in the Bible, and the Gospels that about Jesus' life, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, weren't even written by those apostles. Those books were written at least accordingly 300 years after Jesus' death. So those books are now starting to be a question, like who really wrote those things. I know a lot of people are used to traditions and used to what we were taught in church, but sometimes new information starts to be revealed that should have been revealed back in the day. I'm going to read a Bible verse to justify what I just said. So we have Luke 8 and 17. Everything that is hidden will become clear, and every secret thing will be known. So a lot of people are starting to say that we have a new age religion, but that new age religion isn't really new age. Those are just secrets that were hidden over time to coming out to the truth and everything. And there's a verse in the Bible that Jesus said that certain knowledge won't be revealed until a certain time. So because we won't be able to understand it until a certain time and certain things happen. So just like us growing up as a baby, we don't understand things that happen when we're young, but as we grow up and experience life, we start to understand. A lot of us, when we're younger, say, "I can't wait to grow up and be grown," because at the time we didn't really understand what it meant to be grown. We just thought that okay, we can do whatever we want. But as we start to grow up and learn and experience life, we realize okay, I shouldn't have been in a rush to grow up, and I understand what it truly means to be a grown up. So we can't understand certain knowledge until we experience certain things in life. So that's what God is saying, that certain things won't be revealed to us until we experience certain things in life. So we're going to get into the basic of Christianity. Christianity mostly preach the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Whenever you get baptized, they ask you two simple questions: Do you believe God? Do you believe Jesus is the Son of God? And the next question is, do you believe that He died, but He didn't stay dead? He rose up. And as long as you answer yes to those two questions, you're now declared a Christian. And also, since I said that the Bible teaches less than 5% of Jesus' original teachings, we basically know that Jesus teaches us love God and love your neighbor. Live by the golden rule, treat people how you want to be treated. Have faith in God and Jesus, and it teaches us to pray, and it also teaches us to forgive. But what are Jesus' original teachings? And that's what I want to get into today. So for those, people, I always gotta wonder where I'm getting this information from. Well, today most of my information is coming from the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, and man, I started reading the preface and the introductions of books, and I learned so much in just the preface and everything. So I'm gonna get into Mary Magdalene a little bit later, but I'm gonna talk about the true meaning of what Christianity is actually supposed to preach. So Christianity is supposed to teach the inner meaning as a simple path of inner awakening, as a path of deep knowledge of self. It invites and supports the inner struggle to attend and obey one's own self, the God in oneself. So Christianity is basically supposed to be a path that help us awaken our inner being. In my latest videos, I always talk about, in order to be successful in life, you need to make sure your inner world is great, and you have to believe in yourself. You have to make sure you deal with yourself mentally and emotionally, so your inner world can be balanced. Your inner world normally tends to reflect how your outer world is. So that's what Christianity is supposed to be: a path of inner awakening as a path of deep knowledge of self. It invites and supports the inner struggle to attend, hear, and obey one's own self and the God in oneself. So for the people who don't believe God is within them, we're going to go back to the Bible. 1 Corinthians 3:16. This is what Paul wrote: Know ye not that ye are the temple of God, and that the Spirit dwells in you? So it's basically saying that the Spirit of God dwells in you. So Christianity is basically supposed to teach you how to awaken that inner God within you, the inner thing that we forgot that who we really are. So there's a thing called geognostic gospels. Geognostic comes from a Greek word which means inner knowing, self-acquaintance, or self-knowledge. The belief that spiritual knowledge and development was achieved through inner knowing. So this is basically what Jesus was preaching to the disciples. He was basically teaching them how to awaken the forgotten part of themselves, that where they can reach God and everything. So I'm going to get back into that a little later, but now we're going to talk about Mary Magdalene. Mary Magdalene was declared as a prostitute and a sinner, but in the 1960s, the Roman Catholic Church finally realized that they got this wrong. So who was really Mary Magdalene? And we're going to get into that now. So Mary Magdalene was declared a sinner and a prostitute, but the word sinner was translated to many different meanings. One who transgressed Jewish law, and another one means that someone who simply didn't pay their taxes. So there's no really real true meaning of sinner and everything, because it can simply mean somebody who transgressed Jewish law or someone who didn't pay their taxes. And we know that the Roman Catholic Church was big on paying their taxes. And we're going to get into um what the Bible says about Mary Magdalene. Mary Magdalene is mentioned a handful of times in the Bible. One was mentioned that she was a sinner and a prostitute, and that God casted out 7 demons within her. And then another one said that she was there when Jesus was being crucified, and she was the first person to see Jesus after he's crucified, and that's the only thing we hear. So she was a prostitute, and she was there when Jesus was crucified. She had 7 demons within her, and she was the first person to see Jesus. But here's the real Mary Magdalene. So Mary was one of Jesus' disciples. Mary walked with Jesus. She also funded Jesus. Jesus had a lot of women who funded him as he walked around and preached the gospel. And it was also said that Mary was a special companion of Jesus. And this is why I say that. When others saw how he loved Mary, they said, "Why do you love her more than us?" The Savior said, "How can it be that I do not love you as much as I love her?" So this is the Savior is known as Jesus. So the other disciples noticed how much time Jesus was spending with Mary, and it kind of made them jealous. Mary had access to sacred knowledge given in the area where she lived. This is enough to have rendered her as an outcast or a sinner in many eyes. And this is why she was outside the laws of society, where such knowledge is strictly the affair of men, where women were prohibited from studying the secrets of the Torah or even learning how to read the script. So that's why Mary could have been considered a sinner, because she was simply learning the same things that Jesus was learning. She was learning the secrets of the Torah, and Jesus was actually sharing this information with her, and she knew how to read the script. So the reason why Mary really wasn't talked about in the Bible, because this is, the suppression of feminine knowledge, the suppression of the divine feminine. Mary was declared the apostles of apostles. Mary was the first person to go spread the gospel after Jesus died. But we're taught that Peter and Paul was the one who spread the gospel after Jesus died, but that wasn't the truth, and this is why. So we all know Mary was the first person to go visit Jesus after he was being crucified, but when she got to the tomb, she realized that Jesus was no longer there. But we don't know what happened. So in the Gospel of Mary, the book that was taken out of the Bible, Mary had a full conversation with Jesus. Here it is. Mary had a vision of the teacher Jesus. Lord, I can see you now in this vision. Jesus said, "You are blessed, for the sight of me does not disturb you." So Jesus gave Mary a secret teaching after the crucifixion that he did not give to the other disciples. And this is where Jesus taught Mary that the treasure lies in the soul. So Mary when I said Mary was had seven demons within her. So this book actually talks about the seven manifestations of wrath and how Jesus cleansed her. So in order to become pure and be able to see the true spirit of God, you have to be cleansed of number one, darkness; two, the craving; three, ignorance; four, lethal jealousy; five, enslavement to the body; six, intoxicated wisdom; seven, ungodful wisdom. For those are the seven manifestations of wrath. So, but they don't teach us all the seven demons that were in Mary. They just said that she was cleansed of seven demons to make Mary look like a bad person. So, in order for Mary to hear God, Jesus taught her to be silent. So, in meditation, when you meditate, you have to be silent in order to hear your inner being. So, after Mary told the disciples this, Peter and Andrew did not believe her. And they said this: "How is it possible that Jesus spoke to a woman like that about the secrets of which ourselves are ignorant? We must change our customs? Do we listen to this woman? Did he really choose her and prefer us?" So, a lot of people are wondering, like, if the disciples were ignorant to it, why did Jesus choose her? So, the masculine mind typically overlooks a domain of prophetic or visionary knowledge that, through certainly not exclusive to women, definitely partakes of the feminine principle, in which sometimes is known as the angelic or Eastern dimension of human knowledge. So that's why Mary was able to understand Jesus more than the disciples, because she housed that feminine principle, which masculine mind would normally take that into dominance, power, and everything. So that's why certain information and certain knowledge could not be disposed at certain times, because that could have led to chaos and further destruction. So now this is why everything is coming out, because we are now in the age of the divine feminine, and the divine feminine, which was suppressed, is now coming to the surface. So this is why we must get the real true knowledge of who Mary Magdalene is. And she was more than a prostitute, and she had so much smarts and knowledge, and that Christianity was basically built off Mary. She was the apostles of the apostles, and this is why I say that. So Jesus gave basically Mary a secret teaching, and it taught her how to be inner, that inner work. And in order to be one with God, you must have your inner being cleansed and everything. So you must have your inner being cleansed. And so we're gonna get back into what um, happened between Mary and the apostles. So Mary was sad that the apostles didn't believe her. Then Levi said to Peter, who has always been hot-tempered, "Now we see you judging a woman just as our advisories do." He states that Jesus clearly loved her well and knew her well and loved her more than us. Let us become fully like the teacher, so he can take root in us and spread the gospel without adding any rules that Jesus didn't preach. So in order for them to teach and prepare themselves to really spread the gospel, they had to become fully like the teacher and let him take root in them. So they had to prepare their inner being in order to understand the knowledge and everything. So, in the ancient world, the soul was a dimension seen as the finest point of the soul, or some might say the angel of the soul. So that's why Jesus said that the treasure lies in the soul because it's the finest. So the Bible is basically a language of sacred scriptures and is one of image and symbols that belong to sacred knowledge and more than the concept of science. So, in order to understand the Bible, you have to look at it from a spiritual standpoint. You have to look at it with your spiritual eyes. That's why most people don't understand the Bible because it's more than just what the eye sees. You have to have a deeper understanding and have a deeper personal relationship with God. So, in order to understand the Bible, the Gospel of Mary simply teaches us that our mind needs to be healed. We are responsible for the world that we live in, since it's us who have created it. Our lack enlightened mindset encloses that the facility of death orientation imposes the limits upon us, where then our feeling and intelligence have been become arrested. So basically, that's saying that however our mindsets are, that's what we tend to see in our life. So if we have a negative mindset, we tend to see the world in a negative way. We don't understand why things happen to us. We normally blame God for when things happen to somebody else when we have a negative mindset. But if you raise your mindset, you're able to see, okay, not all things are bad in life. In order for me to grow, I need to experience things, you know. We have to see life from a higher perspective in order to understand why things are happening to us in life. So basically, this what I just said is saying that we need to heal our mindset. We need to heal our inner being in order to see what we really need to see. But as long as our eyes are blinded from ignorance, we can't see the world in the way it's meant to be. So, and it said that knowledge is the in the Bible it says that knowledge is the way to ignorance. But I want to tell you why that's wrong. So Mary basically had an awakening to this immediate world and experienced a knowledge in which the Christ is offered as a completation, as an archetype of that the soul desires to seek and to embrace. So when Mary was having a conversation with Jesus after his resurrection, this is one thing that Jesus told Mary. There is no sin. It is you who make sin exist. When you act accordingly to the habits of your corrupted nature, there is where sin lies. So basically, whatever you have, if you have bad habits and you know your actions can lead to sin and everything. So in order to fix sin, we must correct our habits and our nature. So when I say we must have an enlightened mindset and release the ignorance. So sin comes from ignorance, and that's what Jesus was teaching me. Jesus also taught Mary not to have an attachment. Attachment to matter gives the rise to passion against nature. Thus trouble arises in the whole body. So if we attach ourselves to bad things, like if we attach ourselves to so if somebody says something bad about us and we attach ourselves to the image, that can ruin ourselves. So that's why we have to be strong and be in harmony. If you're out of balance and take inspiration of manifestations of your nature. So basically, if you identify yourself as a sinner, then you will do sinful acts. If you identify yourself as alcoholic, then you will become more alcoholic and everything. So we can't attach ourselves to bad things. We must let go of attachments and believe that we can rise above those things. But and Mary, he also told Mary, do not remain in sorrow and doubt, for his grace will guide you and comfort you. So he's basically telling Mary, don't attach yourself to my image of death because I'm not that image anymore. I'm always around you. I'm always going to be here to guide and comfort you. But first you must release the thought of me being dead. So that's why God is telling her to let go of the attachment to matter that gives passion against the nature. Thus trouble arises in the body. So if we attach ourselves with we can't see God and God is not here with us, then we will start to feel like God is not here with us. But we have to let go of that and know that God is around us in spirit and everything. So Jesus basically transmit the knowledge necessary for the regeneration of human beings with themselves and with their source and principle God. These are the teachings that can restore human beings to the lost percentage into an indescribably singular intimacy with their source. So basically, Jesus' teaching is really supposed to teach us to restore that lost part of ourselves, that where we can find God. And we always thought that God left us, but God never left us. As the Bible verse that God said, I should never forsake you and I should never leave you, for I'm always with you. So this is what Jesus is trying to teach us, that God is always with us in our source. So basically, it's saying that everything must return to its sense of origin. That's what's everything must return to source, and that source is our origin and our destiny, our alpha and omega. We return to source and not to the beginning. The kingdom must not be confused with the return to some sort of paradise or primal state of consciousness, but to source. It signifies an awakening to this very dimension of being that is the source of our existence now, and of that mystery of there being something instead of nothing. So, for John 1 and 3, through him all things came into being. Not one thing came into being except through him. Real knowledge only offers itself to those who take the time needed to hear, and those who can endure and listen fully to the silence of the fathomless before it finally begins to speak. So, the Bible said those who seek him will find him, but it takes patience, and you actually have to seek God in order to find God. And we must learn first to sit in silence before we can hear him. And also, we also need to have experiences in order to understand God's lessons and everything. So this is like through poor use of our senses, intelligence, and emotions, these faculties have become disoriented. They have become disoriented. They have lost their um origin. That is to say, their attunement with the being. So the Gospel of Mary basically teaches us the inner workings of our being and how to awaken the God within us and how to come back to source. There's a lot more in that book. That's only part one, but there's a lot of more things that I wrote down, but I really don't know how to explain it because of the way it talks. The Bible is basically a way of how to awaken your consciousness, but they don't teach that in the Bible. The Bible is just basically um, a set of stories and everything, but each of those stories in the Bible have a certain meaning, and that meaning behind it, but it takes a deeper knowledge to understand it. That's why most of this knowledge was suppressed because they felt like it'll be too much for people to understand and everything, but they knew at a certain time that it would come to pass. So, yeah. I know that a lot of things that I said we weren't originally taught, but in order to seek God, we have to, in order to find God, we have to seek Him. We have to look at outside versions of the Bible and everything that was taken out. I have the Apocrypha at home, and I've been reading a lot of that too. I read the Wisdom of the Solomon and everything, but yeah, there's a lot of knowledge and everything. I know I really didn't go much into Mary Magdalene, but that's all I really know about who she was. And I thought that, the world should know that she was more than a prostitute. She was more than a sinner, but she was actually the apostle of the apostle, and Christianity was originally found by her and everything. And she was one of the first to go spread the word, the gospel. But we really don't hear much of her after, the crucifixion and everything. Christianity, the church teaches us that Peter and Paul did it, but we all know why, because the other disciples were jealous of her and everything. And I'm not saying that y'all have to agree with me. I really encourage y'all to go out there and do your own research. You can start with the Gospel of Mary, but honestly, you can start with the Bible. That's where I started my journey. The first book I read, I know I prayed one night and I asked God, to help change my life, and He led me to the book of Revelations. I read the whole book of Revelations in one day, and since then I've been on a journey. And at first I couldn't understand the Bible, but now it's all coming to me like a story. But in order to understand the Bible, you really have to grow and learn more, and you have to evolve into a higher consciousness. So the Bible is basically teaching us how to evolve into a higher consciousness and everything. Um, And I also learned that man's soul is actually translated into the subconscious mind. So a lot of things begin with our subconscious mind. That's how our inner being is. The way we think about ourselves. How we think about ourselves, that's how other people treat us. The way we treat ourselves, that's how other people treat us. How we think about ourselves, that's how other people think about ourselves. So we basically have to evolve our mindset and have our better mental. So in my last videos, that's why I talked so much about my mental transformation and how to transform yourself mentally and emotionally. But yeah, I have a lot of notes about everything, but I'm not really gonna go into all that because it's basically more about a subconscious thing and a conscious thing. I just wanted to give y'all the breakdown of the secret teaching that Jesus gave Mary, and how He didn't give it to the other disciples, and how they basically became jealous of her and everything. But they don't teach us that in the Bible. And Yeah, I hope I did a great job. And for the ones who can't understand this video, I would like to hear some positive. You guys to be positive. I would like to hear some feedback from everything. And thank you. And my next book, I plan on studying the Torah, and the Torah is basically the first 5 books of the Bible. So I plan on making this a series and studying the Bible and telling y'all things that I learned, and to just so we all can all grow and evolve as one, because I think the mission here now is for us to evolve, to transcend, and to go back to source, that higher consciousness mindset that was once suppressed. Ah, but thank you for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed this video.